Hey guys, Jonathan here for the Blue Wizard Project, just coming at you with a little bit of a different video. I've been toying around with the idea of making video reviews of some of the games that Ian and I play that are not Mega Man, not Castlevania, not the stuff that's given to us on the monthly basis. We might do some that are the games that you guys pick, like Stanley Parable. I have a lot to say about that game and stuff like that. But today I thought I would talk to you guys about Uncharted Lost Legacy. I don't know if you can see it past the shine there. You can see my face reflected in it. It's like I'm a character in it. Anyway, guys, I just finished this game last night. I actually just got it last night and then played through it in one sitting. That took about 7.5 hours, but it was worth it. It was awesome. I don't normally do that with 7.5 hour long games, but yeah, so the way that I'm going to structure this, I'm going to go through the good, the bad, and the strange. Not a lot of bad on this game, not going to lie. I really loved it. I'm a huge fan of the Uncharted games. I've played literally every single one. I own all of them. You saw I have the box. Uncharted is one of the few series that I actually physically own copies of. I live in South Korea. One day I have to move back, and carrying games back is not going to be fun. So I'm very picky about things that I buy physical media for. It's worth it. It's definitely worth it. So let's start with the good. Number one, the game, let me say number one before I get into that, is that I'm not going to do any spoilers, or I'll try to be as spoiler free as possible so that you guys can play through it and enjoy it. Number one is the open world. So when the game starts, normally Uncharted is very scripted, and you're going from set piece to set piece, and it's like, go through this hallway, go through this temple, go through this place, here's a fight, then you're in another temple. Which is cool, and I've always enjoyed that about the Uncharted games. The way that this one starts is there's a small scripted area in the beginning that kind of gets you the feel of what the game's going to be like and introduces the controls and, you know, how climbing works and all that stuff. But then it switches over to kind of an open world area where there's 3 main temples that you can go through, as well as some side stuff that you can do to get unlockables that will, like, help you track down hidden treasures and stuff like that. So it was, at first, a little bit jarring for me. I don't normally play open world games. I've said that multiple times in the Mega Man videos. I just get kind of overwhelmed with how much stuff there is to do in it, and I feel like I never finish the game. Horizon Zero Dawn being an exception to that, and Red Dead Redemption, which were both fantastic games that I love. But this one, it doesn't have a lot of like little side quest things. The map is very controlled and limited. This game is not huge. It was supposed to be DLC originally, and they just kind of fleshed it out into its own game. But I really enjoyed this. I really liked the open world field. You kind of get the sense of where you are in that little area, and it was great. I really enjoyed it. It was a nice deviation from the formula that Uncharted has used in the past, and they do a lot of that in this game, kind of poking fun at itself for how Uncharted has become scripted and what it's done over the past 4 games, plus the Vita game, and not so much the mobile game, but yeah. Anyway, so that was good. Number 2, combat is much better in this game. So if you've talked to me about Uncharted before at all, I love the characters, I love the stories, I love seeing these really awesome new places and traveling all around the world in these games. I hate the combat in Uncharted normally. Uncharted 1 was almost unplayable for me. Just the like slog of like, this is a normal guy, I'm shooting him in the head, but it's taking like 7 headshots. Actually, Uncharted 1 through 4 were some of the only games that I played on easy. I normally don't play games on easy, but I just hate the combat so much in Uncharted that I just wanted it over with as quickly as possible. I didn't do that on this one. I played on normal. The stealth mechanics in this one are much better, so you're able to kind of travel around the world and sneak up on guys and take them out. You can finally stealth kill the dudes that have like heavy armor. You just have to do it twice. Like the first time you jump up on them, you'll rip their helmet off. Second one, you'll snap their neck, which is awesome. And third is that Nadine, the side character you're playing as Chloe from Uncharted 2, I believe she was in. Nadine is actually useful. Nadine is from Uncharted 4. She was one of the bad guys in that one. She will actually attack enemies, mark enemies, help you with puzzles, like if there's like switches that you have to throw, and it's just kind of a slog of like hit switch 1, hit switch 2. She'll be like, oh, I've got that one, let me go. So it made the game way better. You can also turn on like aiming assist and stuff like that. I've heard that that's really good. I didn't use it. I didn't really feel the need to, but it was great. It finally felt like the combat in Uncharted was decent again. The game still looks great. It's basically, if you've seen Uncharted 4, you've seen this one. Plants, rustle in the wind and everything like that. The world looks very lush and things like that. I might be overdoing it because I'm playing Final Fantasy 15 at the same time, and the world in that game feels very static. Nothing moves. And I'll do a Final Fantasy 15 video when I finally finish that game. But if you guys like this. But it looks great. And the one thing that I'll say looks exceptionally well is the way that they portray emotions through Chloe and Nadine's facial expressions. Whoever's the animator on that, top-notch work, guys. It was fantastic. One thing I liked about this game is that it wasn't as long as a typical Uncharted game. Like this one, like I said, was about 7 hours, 7.5 hours doing most of the stuff. I didn't collect everything in it. I rarely do. But normally Uncharted games have a little bit of a part where it feels like it's stretching just a little bit too far. And I really liked the pacing in this one. It felt really good. They also kind of steered away from the supernatural elements that kind of in the early Uncharted games they did. And I kind of appreciated that as well. And then the last good thing that I'll say about this game was that the end set piece, which I won't spoil for you so that you can play it yourself, was probably one of the coolest ones in the entire Uncharted franchise. I had so much fun with it. It was really awesome. I had a really good time with it. There were times where I was just like jumping onto things and blowing things up, and it felt like completely natural. Great end set piece. Again, whoever made this game at Naughty Dog, you guys did a phenomenal job with that. All right, let's move on to the bad. Again, I don't have a lot of bad things to say about this game. The one thing that I'll say, and this is kind of a problem with most of the Uncharted games, is that the bad guys don't really have particularly clear motives. The bad guy in this one is just like, I want to kill people, I want to start a civil war, I want to do all this stuff. And he says all this pretty much up front in the game. You only really see him in the beginning and end of the game. But his motivations for why he wants to do that weren't particularly clear to me. Maybe I just wasn't paying close enough attention. But he still was fine. There's still he wants the MacGuffin so that he can open the temples and blah, blah, blah. Typical Uncharted stuff. But it was cool. The other only minor gripe I had is that sometimes when you're on like the thin platforms where you have to like move sideways and shimmy across stuff, the controls sometimes were a little bit awkward on that. Like I would be pressing sideways. It's like, oh no, you have to press up on this one because of the camera angle or whatever. That broke it a little bit, but for the most part it was awesome. And now we'll go to the Strange. For the Strange, not a whole lot. I didn't get a whole lot of glitches or anything like that in this game. There was one particular glitch that bothered me for a while where like right before a string of cinematics started, my shoulder strap on my machine gun errored, so it was like ripping out of my stomach and floating over my shoulder, like in front of my face like this. And because I was in the cinematic, I couldn't like reset it, and so it was just very distracting. But that only happened once. I have that video on my PlayStation. If I can figure out a way to get it from my PlayStation to my PC, I'll probably throw it on at the end of this video. And then there was also one small part where like I found like this hidden, not really a hidden temple, you go there in the storyline, but like I found this temple. There was like a cutscene where Nadine and Chloe are talking about it, and then later I did one of the temples that you're supposed to do before you go there, and they're like, oh look, there's this carving on this mountain, what do you think that's about? I'm like, we already talked about this, guys, why are you referencing it? And I get that like they're not gonna, it's more work than it's worth to program. Like, well, what if someone looks at that first? But it was a little bit distracting. The only other weird thing is just my common gripe in all of the Uncharted games. Two common gripes in all the Uncharted games. Number one, like, why is it that these places remain untouched for thousands of years, or hundreds of years, depending on the game, and then all of a sudden, whenever one of the Uncharted heroes wants to go there, now another person wants to go there as well at that same time, and that those people are always well-funded military organization people. It's never like another Nathan Drake character who's just like, I'm just a dude and I'm gonna go there, and like it's never someone who wants to preserve the history. Like I think that would be kind of a cool Uncharted thing, is like, oh, Nathan Drake, or in this case Chloe, like, why are you going into these ancient places and like throwing grenades and shooting walls and breaking priceless artifacts and urns and stuff that you see around the floor? that's always a little bit weird. And then the last one is relating to the last point. Like, in this game, the again, I won't spoil anything, but like the MacGuffin that you're going after, that the whole game is about. They're like, oh, it's priceless and blah blah. But like, you're going through these rooms filled with like gold and statues and ancient drums and all of these things that, like, if you collected all of those, would be worth more money than the MacGuffin. And in this game, they do a little bit better job of like giving a motivation for why Chloe wants that particular item. But in terms of Nadine, it just didn't make sense. Like, she just wants money. She's a mercenary. She could have just picked up any of that stuff. So that's always a little bit weird to me. But yeah, besides that, the game was great. Uncharted Lost Legacy, PlayStation 4 exclusive. Great game. If you haven't played any of the other Uncharteds, get them. They're awesome games, and this one is definitely top tier. So anyway, guys, this has been Jonathan for the Blue Wizard Project with a review for you. I'll catch you guys next time, and maybe do another one of these soon. We'll see. Anyway, catch you guys later. Peace.